Welcome to the Conceive, Believe, and Achieve podcast, where we delve into the minds of elite athletes and coaches to uncover their secrets behind their success. I'm your host, Shawn Geris, former university wrestling coach, D1 wrestler, national champion, Olympic trials medalist, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, three-time world team coach in grappling, and author. Join me as we explore the realms of training, mindset, goal setting, overcoming adversity, and various coaching methodologies in the world of sports. Get ready to be inspired and motivated as we learn from the best in the game on our journey to achieving greatness. Today's guest is Alex Moore, a multiple senior national champion in the sport of wrestling, an Olympian, a Olympic qualifier, a Commonwealth Games bronze medalist, University World bronze medalist, Pan Am silver medalist, a U Sport champion, and Concordia Male Athlete of the Year. He's here to talk to us now. Hey, Alex, welcome to the show. I know that you've seen our stuff. Big things are happening in your life. You just qualified for the Paris Olympic Games. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because, I've been looking at amateur wrestlers when I started doing this. This podcast. I wanted to kind of find my niche. I grew up in the sport of wrestling, and as I was researching guests and stuff like that, I found your name and I realized you just had this big accomplishment. And then I'm looking at your name, the last name, and I'm like, I know that name, and I know that name from a guy that's up in Montreal. He used to coach at the University of Western Ontario. In fact, a gentleman named Rob Moore, who apparently you know.
Yeah, it's my old man.
Yeah, your dad. So small world, I can tell you, I grew up around the sport of wrestling. My dad was a three-time Olympian, and your dad was coaching at Western at the time, and I was about 10 years old. So I would come up with my dad and my older brother to wrestling practice. I was just a nuisance, I think, more so than anything. Like we would climb those ropes that were in the Western wrestling room and then fall back down. And I think we annoyed more the coaches than anything.
Yeah,
but I remember you. Sorry?
I've been there, the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this first question. I know I was forced into wrestling. Were you, because your dad's influence?
I wasn't necessarily forced into it. He kind of just brought me around to practice.
Mhm.
So it's always around the wrestlers. So I think from an early age, I kind of had that sense of I just wanted to be a wrestler like all the other, big, strong guys that I looked up to.
Mhm.
And then I started competing, but he never forced me into it, but it was just kind of expected, I guess.
Yeah.
I just grew up in it, right? So
Mhm. Your father had a really gentle nature. I don't think he would have forced you into anything.
no, it's pretty calm, yeah.
Yeah, I remember my dad having the utmost respect for your dad, and then, of course, demonstrated through just his actions. I've seen your dad, since my dad's passing, and said hello to him, and great man as it is. So I just want to say, when you get a chance to say hello to him for us from the Geris family, that'd be great. But I want to go back into what you're doing. Of course, just qualifying for the Paris Games, and you just did that down south. Can you tell me about that experience?
Wow. So last week I qualified for the Olympics. Honestly, it wasn't a feeling I ever expected having. I knew I was excited. I knew I wanted to, accomplish that goal, but the feeling of actually doing it was incredible. I think I still kind of struggle to believe that it actually happened. I just feel like I've been through a lot these last 4 years, and then it's been a journey, right? It's like it's not the last 4 years; it's my entire life, that I've put into it, and to kind of accomplish it, it's an incredible feeling. I'm still kind of buzzing about it. There's still a high, so it's nice. I'm trying to soak it in.
Awesome to hear. Hey, and as I was researching the guest, that's what I do is I'll go into your background a little bit. I was researching you, and of course, you have had an interesting adventure when it comes to wrestling. 4 years ago, you actually went against a former wrestler of mine, Clayton Pye.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, he wrestled for the Harry Geris Wrestling Club,
Okay.
and then he went on to Brock. But I was reading about it. It was kind of an interesting story. Can you tell us and the listeners what you went through with that battle?
Yeah, so 4 years ago, so I was the number one seed because I won the nationals the year before, and we had the Olympic trials, and I don't know if it was at the U23 Worlds, but we had the U23 Worlds. It might have been in my quarterfinal match, but I was kind of getting going. Like I had a really good tournament. I beat Russia, I beat Georgia, and then I lost to Turkey. But I hurt my knee a bit, and then I went back to practice, and I kept tweaking it, and it kept getting worse. And then the week before, I don't know if it was a week or two before the Olympic trials, I found out that I had a complete tear in my ACL. So with my coaches, we decided not to, partake in the trials. So I had to sit out. So I'm like, okay, this whole cycle was for nothing. I spent one day feeling bad for myself, and then kind of went right into training again just to prehab and get ready for my surgery. And then COVID happened, and everything got postponed. So then Clayton. He went to the Pan Am Olympic qualifier, and he didn't make it. And then COVID shut everything down. So by the time things got restarted, I was like a month, I went through my entire rehab, so I had a month of training ready, and I got a wrestle off. So then I wrestled him best 2 out of 3, to kind of take over that spot to try to qualify the country in Bulgaria. So I won the qualifier. No, I won the wrestle off against Clayton, but the week before I tore my labrum.
Oh,
So I went from, it was crazy. I was getting big. I was getting strong. I went from benching 3 plates to not even being able to do a push up.
mm-hmm.
So I was, a little bit stressed out about that, but I got the job done against Clayton, and then went to Bulgaria. And then by that point, it was very hard to train with it. I couldn't really push on anything, and so I didn't qualify. And then had to go through another cycle, and then finally I got the job done here. So
Yeah. So tell me about the road to Paris and how I guess you said packed it up after the last qualifier. You just said, you know what, I put my effort in. I don't have to do it anymore. What kept you driving? Why did you continue? Because most people would say, they just wouldn't.
yeah, it was tough. I think I was still in school, so I had about a year left in school. So I was like,
Mhm.
let me ride it out with school, and then, but I don't know. You don't want to disappoint that little kid inside of you that had that dream,
Mhm.
So I figured, let's not make any rash decisions. I just keep going with it, and then I stuck through it, and then not next thing you know, it's only a year away. It's only 6 months away, and you worked your whole life for it. So I didn't want to throw everything away. And I'm happy I didn't. It was a crazy ride.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that little kid. Where did he start off wrestling?
Montreal Wrestling Club. So I started here. I finished here. Oh, I'm gonna finish here. So I spent my whole life at the same wrestling club, same coaches. So I've been super lucky. A lot of athletes are kind of, they're going to the States now and everything, and I'm kind of, I wrestled with the idea for a while, but I think I'm proud of staying in Montreal and Canada. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is. I guess something. I mean, I went down to this school in the U.S. My brother did as well, and my dad influenced our decision. So there are some good wrestling down there, but I can tell you that Montreal Wrestling Club is one of the toughest clubs in Canada, and sometimes the producing some top level athletes coming out of there. One in particular, I think, is your coach, Zimmerman, right? And there's 2 of them there. There's the father and son combo.
Father and son, yeah, duo.
Yeah. And I think it's Vitor, right?
Victor.
Victor. Okay, sorry, I'm just. But he came over from Russia.
Yeah, Soviet Union. So I think he won this. He won the Soviet championships, and he was a bronze medalist. And yeah, great wrestler.
Did that come into play? That factor there come into play as to why you didn't go down to the U.S. having a Russian coach?
No, I don't know. There's a lot. It was a tough decision. I kind of wanted to. I got some offers to go and train there.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it was also my family too, right?
Yeah.
I don't think my dad wanted me to go, and then I was in school, and then the interview happened. So
yeah,
it worked for a reason. Everything worked out. So.
Mm-hmm. And where is school now?
So I'm done school. I went to Concordia. So it's the typical Montreal style. We go. There's a CEGEP here. So in Quebec, there's like a CEGEP or a college for 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And then we go to Concordia. So it's the Montreal Wrestling Club Classic. So
okay.
Concordia. Yeah, everyone goes to Concordia.
Nice. And who coaches at Concordia? Is it Victor?
Yeah, but it's Victor and David, like both of them, and my dad. Everyone trains at the same club. So the entire Concordia team wrestles at the Montreal Wrestling Club, and it's all kind of intertwined.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Um, well, growing up in this sport, growing up around those guys, and
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, wrestling is going to infiltrate your soul in some way.
No, for sure.
Not at all. Um,
100%.
Tell me about your mental preparation for your matches. I mean, you've already sounds like you already had some sort of mental prep, going into from the last. You built it from the last trials coming into this trials,
Yeah.
and maybe the qualifiers. But how did you build up? I guess or prepare yourself mentally for your competitions. How do you usually do that?
I kind of just try to stay focused on what I have to do.
Hmm.
So, at practice, whether that's at practice or during the tournament itself, I'm like focused on, okay, what are like my keys to success? So what do I have to do in the match to be successful? And what do I have to do in training? So I kind of try to focus on that rather than like focusing on the results and stuff. But in terms of like toughness, um, like you just kind of develop it over 20 years of training and going through hard, like wrestling's a really hard sport, so you're bound to kind of get tougher just going through everything. And then like I don't know how, but I kind of got pretty good at dealing with adversity, right? So I told you about my knee that I had in my shoulder, and then right when I got back after my shoulder, like I had COVID going into nationals, and then right when I got back, I tore my hamstring. So I went to Commonwealth Games with like no time on the mat, and then even for the qualifiers. So the last qualifiers we just had, 7 weeks before. No, so Saturday. So I wrestled Friday. So 7 weeks from Saturday, I broke my hand. So I was only on the mats maybe three times before going to the tournament. So I had a complete break in my, or I don't know if it was a complete, no, it was a break. So my bone was like kind of sticking out of the side. It was like an oblique fracture in my hand. And I was having a lot of pain. So we left Monday. We had to practice on Sunday, and I was wrestling with like high school kids, 17-year-old kids, smaller than me, and I couldn't pull on their neck. I was like, how am I gonna do this, right? I had so much pain. But I stayed pretty calm, and I think it just going through all that adversity with sport kind of just conditioned me to learn how to deal with these kinds of things.
Hmm.
And no one cares if I'm hurt, right? Like if I don't make the Olympics, if I don't, my opponents don't care, my friends and family don't like, you know what I mean? It just whether you do it or you don't do it. So I had to get the job done no matter what. So
Yeah, it was you. It was all on you. A lot of
yeah,
pressure,
yeah,
but you put it on yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's part of sport, you know what I mean? I think that's the beauty of it, and I think it's going to prepare me for my career after sport, and
Mhm.
I'm for it.
Yeah, you know what? I talk to more and more wrestlers, and the adversity and learning to deal with the adversity. You go into a room and you get taken down. There's adversity right there, but
Mm.
you're forced to get back up and face that same guy, that same girl, uh, on and on again. And I think that teaches us at a micro level to continue and continue and to face challenges in life. Because I think, like you said, you approach these injuries, one at a time, one at a time. And did you ever come to think like, what? Screw it. This is just too much. My body can't handle any of this. I know us older guys do that, but I'm probably not the younger guys.
No, yeah, for sure. I think so. I was like, just why do I keep getting hurt? There's always something. Yeah, something you struggle with. It. I mean, those ideas do come into your head, like,
Hmm.
hey, I should stop. It's funny. So the nationals after my shoulder surgery, I didn't even want to. I didn't want to wrestle.
Hmm.
And my mom's like, listen, like you put too much into this, like you're gonna go and you're gonna win. And I had like a month or two of training because I
Yeah.
just got my shoulder surgery, and I got the job done. And I think also like there's some people around you that kind of encourage you to get through things.
Hmm.
And like so, for my coach David Zilberman, like he didn't give up on me even when I wanted to almost give up. So it's not just me, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people around me who've contributed to that, and like having a good support system to help you get through those times for sure. So it's not all on you, but at the end of the day, it's on you. But you take the help when you can get it.
Yeah. How important is that support system at home?
I mean, super important. My parents were super supportive of sport, and yeah, I can't thank them enough. But I was lucky that my dad is so involved in the sport that he always got it, and everything in my family was kind of revolving around wrestling always. So yeah, I guess I was lucky to be born into the sport in terms of where I'm at today.
Hmm.
yeah, it was just everything was around wrestling. My mom probably doesn't like it, but yeah, life in the household's about wrestling. So
Did you ever try any other sport?
I played soccer, like competitive soccer when I was younger, and I did a bit of judo.
Mm-hmm.
So just those two, and then the rest was just wrestling.
And I'm assuming it's just the influence at home and then constantly bringing you up to the university to wrestle is probably why it happened.
Yeah, and then I just got good at it. Like
Yep.
pretty early on, I was winning,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you just like things that you're good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're successful, you build on your success.
Yeah, but then it's funny though when you're young and you have a lot of success, and then you lose that first match, or start, and then it hurts so bad. Like I remember I lost. I don't know how old I was, but I remember losing, and I just wanted to quit. I was so upset. Like I didn't want to go to practice. I was like embarrassed to come back, and then that's when the toughness starts coming into place. You're a soft kid, you know what I mean, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's when university starts, and then the journey starts.
Well, talking about your losses and how would you deal? How do you deal with setbacks, losses? And have you learned from those experiences? Do you learn to take the time to learn from those experiences, or just kind of move on?
Uh, you have to move on in a way. Like I move on, but I think of the losses. Like, hey, what did I do wrong? What can I do? And like, what's in my you lost, right? So it's not in your control anymore. So you have to move on in a sense, but you have to look at the loss and say, hey, what can I do moving forward?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, loss is such a big part of the sport. I think that's something like amazing about it.
I think it's it makes you better as an athlete or as a person when you look at your losses and you analyze them. I know there was a school down in the States, a teacher that used to teach chess, and what he would do, and he would do competitive chess to take these kids around different schools and championships and stuff like that. But with each match that they did, they would go back and they would analyze and take the and take the time to say, okay, if you made this move, if you had not if you choose this different position, you would have been here. So they start to analyze, and it sounds like that's what you did. You started to analyze what you were doing wrong, or what I guess precipitated that loss, and you started to maybe develop a game plan. Is that what happened?
Yeah, but it's not just in the matches; it's also in practice. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of trial and error, and you go for an attack and you leave yourself exposed, and you go to your back, or you miss, and then you have to keep like if you don't try, you're not going to figure it out, right? So you have to go through that trial and error and that loss and that rude awakening sometimes, right?
Yeah. And is it the self-evaluation, or are especially in practice, I guess, or are your coaches watching you and saying, okay, you effed up here, come on, let's focus on this, or are you able to do a self-reflection on, when you walk away from practice and you kind of like, okay, well, I did A, B, and C, maybe I'd have to do E, F, G next.
100%, your coaches are on you. Like my coaches are always on me. Like they're tough. They're tough for sure. But I think to get to that next level, you have to do a lot of self-reflection.
Mhm.
So if you're not doing that, I don't think you can kind of get to the next level. But for sure, your coaches play a huge part in that. But it's not
Yeah.
enough. I don't think it's enough to just rely on your coaches.
Mhm. So the self-reflection, when did that start?
Wow, yeah, it's crazy to think about because it's been such a long journey.
Mhm.
I don't think it was a conscious thing. I think it was something that our coaches told us and really early on, and they kind of drilled it into us. And I just knew that's something that I had to do
Mhm.
because I cared. I really cared. So I come home and I would watch so much wrestling outside of practice. Like you go on YouTube and yeah, it was crazy.
Man, you talk about YouTube, and it's crazy. It's such an amazing tool to have at your disposal. Your father, my father, myself, growing up, we didn't have that tools. In fact, if you talk to your dad, he probably remembers these little books that they would get and open up, and the technique would actually be printed out. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
Seen them, some historical depictions that are there. But and then VHS was a nightmare too, because you'd have to order tapes from the internet. Not even the internet, geez, some mailing thing that you'd be at a tournament or something. So it's crazy. So how valuable has YouTube been for you?
It's unbelievable. Like, I remember when I was a juvenile, I think I was like a first year juvenile. There was like this one move, this slide by from
Hmm.
like elbow, and there's this one wrestler that used to do it from Azerbaijan. His name was Asgarov.
Hmm.
And, you know, I remember looking, like watching that video every single day to try to get it down. And then that for the next like 2 years, it's like all I would do. I would
Hmm.
just, I would just do that move over and over again. And then every year I would kind of like go on the internet. I'd find like 6 or 7 moves that I'd like. I'd watch a ton of wrestling, and I'm like, okay, this like top wrestlers in the world, and
Hmm.
I'd dissect like 6, 7 moves that I liked, and then
Hmm.
from there I'd go to practice, and then maybe one of them would work, and then I'd keep trying it, and then I would just that's how I kind of developed my wrestling. I
Hmm.
just use the internet to find moves or setups or entrances that I liked, and then I would go with a bunch of them to practice, and then yeah, only one or two of them would stick, and then eventually they would like long term. I would keep practicing them, and then they'd stick, and then I kind of developed my wrestling through that. So honestly, I developed my wrestling through the internet, 100%. I was so lucky, so yeah, crazy.
Yeah, you know what? It wasn't until later that I discovered YouTube. I transitioned my wrestling to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's exactly what I would do every morning before work because we used to train at work. There's a bunch of us that would do Jiu-Jitsu in the morning for about an hour. So I go on YouTube, search some move, and then I would go into the mat room and I would wrestle, or I guess do Jiu-Jitsu, whatever they call it, roll, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Do the same thing, try things out, and if they didn't work, I discard them, and if they did work, I just keep repeating the process. It sounds exactly what you're doing. So beautiful tool it is. I wish we had it back when I was wrestling.
yeah, 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 yeah.
We talked about dealing with setbacks. One of the things I wanted to talk about is balancing your life when it comes to wrestling. You said you use a lot of influence from your life from wrestling. What other aspects do you have in life? What do you do to rest? What do you do to, I guess, other than wrestling that makes you a normal person?
Yeah, I think it's just social life,
Mhm.
trying to balance that, but it's hard because you have to sacrifice that a lot. But I got into like it was weird. I think it was during COVID. I got into like wealth management, so I kind of got super interested into that and investing and stuff.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the next step I want to take when I'm done wrestling. I want to work in wealth management. So I kind of became passionate about that. So I was like watching podcasts, reading articles, books, everything about that. So that's kind of become another passion. And I think that once I started getting other passions, it kind of it helped with my wrestling because I wasn't so focused on my worth as a person was just based on wrestling. So for example, if I had a bad day at practice, I would just be in a bad mood all across the board. Like I was just in a bad mood, for example,
Mhm.
where I had other passions. If I had a bad day at wrestling, I can dive deep into this other thing, and it kind of made me a more well-rounded person. And I think it helped with my wrestling, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Your most memorable wrestling match, doesn't matter internationally or maybe domestically here. Um, which one is that?
so I think it's weird though because since I was a little kid, it was always like expected to win. I always felt like I was expected to win. So whenever I win match, I'm like I'm not actually happy.
Hmm.
Except my first nationals that I won, my first year cadet nationals. That was like that was the no that was the second best wrestling memory I had after making the Olympics. But yeah, yeah, it was tough. I feel like that first year it's I always wanted to be a national champion growing up. It was like the first kind of milestone and the first big one, and I was overcome with joy, and I'm like, oh, I'm a national champion, like I'm the best in the country. That was definitely the best feeling before qualifying for the Olympics. But I had some good matches, like I beat some good Georgian guys. I beat Russia at the U23 Worlds. Those are good, but no, for sure, first nationals and then qualifying for the Olympics. By far, the best feelings that I've experienced.
Yeah, awesome. Tell me about the day. We'll go back to the qualifying for the Olympics. Tell me about the day, how it started off, and and what you did to prepare mentally and physically.
Of the qualifiers, for the
Yeah.
qualifiers, woke up, just go to the weigh-ins. I think once you go to weigh-ins, it kind of sets in like the nerves a little bit, and you're around all the other athletes at weigh-ins, and everyone's like, chest puffed out, like trying to intimidate each other. So I guess body language, I feel like, is important there. So yeah, weigh in, eat, rehydrate, and then rest a bit before people start warming up. I got my tan taped because I broke it. Took my painkiller, helped a lot. Got for the painkiller.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel anything. Then warm up, and I'm just trying to focus on like one thing at a time. So I'm thinking about my warm up, what I have to do next, pushing, getting my heart rate up. And then I had my first match. My first match, I was super nervous because I haven't wrestled anyone. I hadn't wrestled a match in practice or anything for like 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little bit nervous for the first one. First round was really slow. It was like 1-0. I mean, I could have taken him down like right away probably, but I kept it easy. And then my coach, I go to the corner, and the coach is like, listen, you got to just, like, it's not going to end 1-0. Like, you have to just go and take him down. And then I took him down right at the beginning of the second, turned him 10-0, or 11-0. But it's just like any other tournament almost. There's a little bit more pressure because everyone, that's their Olympic spot on the line, and staying calm. So then after that, go back to the hotel, but you have to stay calm because I'm in my head. I'm like thinking, I could qualify to make the Olympic Games. So I'm getting excited, but I'm like, listen, I need to calm down. Like, it's in 5 hours. I need to conserve my energy for the rest of the day, chill. But like, you can't help but like kind of get excited about it. And I'm like, listen, that's not helping me. It's wasting my energy. I need to just focus on resting right now, and then focus on what I need to do in the match. So in my semis, I knew the guy didn't have a gas tank. So I just kind of tried to push the pace. So the score was close. It was like 4-0. I pinned him 4-0, but like, he was dead. Like, I just felt him kind of break. So I felt like the score didn't reflect the match. But yeah, crazy day though. But it was tiring. And then, for example, I have my match. I think I was 7th match, and then there was a break because there was an issue with the lights. So you're about to go on next, and then it keeps getting delayed, and you have to learn to like not get too high, like, you know what I mean? You can't get too excited because then you're gonna burn out, and then learn to deal with the delay and everything. But I mean, it's nothing that we don't practice for or experience in other tournaments, right? It's like 15 years of competing, or you learn to deal with those things.
Yeah. So none of those setbacks, none of those distractions played into your mental state of mind at the time. You seemed like you said that you stayed focused. Was there anybody there that had to help you stay focused as well, or was watching you to stay focused?
My coach was always watching me, but I was dialed in. I was ready to go.
Yeah.
I knew the implications. I was ready to go. So I mean, it's through preparation, right? It's not my first tournament. You're training forever. It takes a long time to get to that point where you can kind of learn to prepare for matches and stuff. And it was good to kind of get the first one out of the way. I was really happy about that. And then I was just ready to go. I knew what I had to do. I knew what I had to focus on. I just had to go and do it. And I knew, like, whatever happens in the match, like any kind of adversity, you just push through it.
Yeah. Nice. Any rituals that go along with your wrestling career, or before? You said 15 years of wrestling. I'm sure you have one or two that may come into play.
Yeah. Some people have their superstitions, or they always wear the same pair of like underwear or whatever. But for me, I just get a haircut right before I leave. That's been my go-to thing. But other tden that, you want to look good on the mat, feel good, wrestle good. Other than that, not really. I just don't do it. Yeah, I know it's nothing exciting or anything, but the only thing that I do every big tournament is I go get a haircut right before I leave. But that's about it.
Well, you got to look good if you're winning.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what a haircut is anymore. I'm sorry. I've been genetically blessed. So moving along, what I wanted to ask was about, you talked about weightlifting. So you said that you were lifting 3 plates, and then you were broken down to just a push-up. Where is your strength training coming from? How has your strength training progressed? Are you working with a professional, or are you just kind of doing it on your own? Tell me a little bit about your journey in strength training too, because that's a big thing for me is
Yeah.
weights.
Yeah. So for weights, so we basically just had this. It was through my coaches. We just go. We had a list of things we had to go through. So every time we go to the gym, it was like full body, 3 days a week. Like we would just hit the whole body.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was trying to get bigger. I was trying to get heavy because when I first wrestled at 86 kilos, I was about 77 kilos. My coaches wanted me to wrestle up, so I was super undersized. So it was always about getting bigger. And then through I got a lot stronger when I was doing a lot of my rehab for my leg and for my leg and stuff. So I was just lifting a lot, like Olympic lifts, squats, and everything with one of the athletic therapists that I work with, and he's also like a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with him to do that stuff. And then once I did my shoulder stuff, I was like, I can't lift heavy anymore. After my labrum surgery, I couldn't bench heavy. I couldn't like lift really heavy. So I just kind of started doing like more reps, lighter weights.
Mm-hmm.
And my weight I got bigger. I felt more solid. So that's kind of what I've been doing a little bit. But yeah, because I can't lift heavy anymore. It's my shoulders just it's not the same.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite exercise in the gym?
Favorite exercise in the gym used to be bench press. I like my bench.
Everybody loves bench.
Other than bench, wow. Man, that's tough. I don't know, pull-ups maybe.
Pull-ups, okay.
I know. You know what? It's one of those things. I hate pull-ups, but like,
yeah,
it's like a love-hate thing, you know.
Yep, I know. I used to hate legs, and I love legs nowadays, and I don't know why, because I used to skip leg day every chance I got. Crazy. And then you develop this love for it, something you hate, which is good because it's good for you. Your chin-ups. I mean, it's going to give you a great butt back, and of course, strong in wrestling, special Greco as well too. Role models coming from the world of wrestling. Anybody in particular? Jordan Burroughs, Dan, I was going to say Aykroyd, Dan Gable, names like that, and any names from the wrestling world that have inspired you, that have really influenced your wrestling?
Okay, so growing up, we had a world champion in our room, so Gia Sisori.
Mm-hmm.
That was the obvious one for me, just because growing up, you see someone in your room that's like a world champion.
Yep.
An Olympic medalist, so it was amazing to see him every day. And then, other than my club and stuff, I feel like, I didn't really have any. I don't know. It's hard to say because like Burroughs, right? Like Burroughs is so impressive and he's so mentally strong and he's been able to stay consistent for so long. So that it's amazing, right? But the only thing that I didn't like about Burroughs is he didn't wrestle like me. So I always liked wrestlers that like had a similar style, so I can like watch them and learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wrestle like Jordan Burroughs, you know what I mean? He's like super fast twitch doubles, like you know what I mean? I couldn't wrestle like that, so I was never like the biggest Jordan Burroughs fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fan of him and what he's accomplished and stuff, and his attitude and how consistent he's been and how amazing he is. But like I couldn't wrestle like that, so I was always trying to watch for wrestlers that I could try to mimic.
Yeah. You never found one?
I don't know. No, I just took bits and pieces. I didn't have one guy that I idolized. I don't know. No, you know what? That's not true. When I was really young, there's one wrestler, Besik Kudakov. So he wrestled 60 kilos. He was like my idol. Actually, that's true. He was my favorite wrestler. But I always thought when I was little, I was always a small kid. So yeah, when I was like first year cadet, I wrestled 46 kilos. Then when I was second year cadet, I wrestled 50 kilos. So I was really, really small. And I always thought that I was going to wrestle 60 kilos when I was older. Because I remember at our club, we had like David Tremblay and James Mancini, like two of the older guys. And Tremblay wrestled 55 kilos and Jamie wrestled 60. And then I had my favorite wrestler ever, Kudakov, wrestling 60 kilos. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be like those guys. You know what I mean? And then I grew and then I had a big growth spurt later on. So yeah, 86 kilos is far from there. So,
oh man, another question for you here. Wrestling is not just a physical sport, but it requires deep understanding of your opponent. You talked about YouTube and picking moves from YouTube. How important is YouTube to analyzing some of your international opponents? Maybe domestically as well here.
Yeah, I mean, super important. The only thing is that like I tried not to focus too much on my opponents. I tried to kind of focus on myself.
Hmm.
So yeah, I didn't really analyze. I feel like because the thing with the wrestling bracket is you have like, I don't know, go to the worlds, there's like 30, 40, 50 countries, and I can't really game plan for every one of them, right? You never know because there's a draw and stuff.
Hmm.
But I think I have my coaches to say watch out for this and that, and I mostly use wrestling just to kind of develop my own game, but then here and there kind of watch out for this, watch out for that. Yeah, I don't know. I try to just focus on myself, but
What about nationally? I mean, you're facing probably the same person in the finals, maybe at the same time. Do you have that person that you kind of, I don't know, that rival here in Canada, that friendly rival, of course.
yeah. I never watched any of the domestic guys. I was always thinking past Canada,
Hmm.
so uh, yeah,
It's
I've never.
probably why you're where you're at right now. Then.
Yeah. I never looked at Canada. I never thought. The only thing I guess there was pressure because of like the karting. I want to get my karting and stuff. That was the only thing, but I never really thought of like, oh, I have to beat this guy in Canada. Yeah, I was never thinking about those guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so you talk about karting. Karting, for the viewers, can you explain that? So some people may not know; they may be a little foreign to wrestling, but can you just explain what karting is to them?
Yeah, so for all the Olympic weight classes, I think there's more for the women than there are for the men, but there's like maybe 6 to 8 cards. So basically, it's funding for athletes at Olympic weight classes. So, and there's a bunch of benefits that come with it. So you get money for school, yeah, money for school and other resources. But then you
Hmm.
also get drug tested and stuff. But yeah, so I think there's like 8 for the men, and then there's more for the women.
Hmm.
Usually, like the number ones get 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 carding, and then there's a couple developmental cards after that. But
Hmm. So funding for sports, I can tell you that was one of the big things my dad really, well, I mean, he complained about when he was wrestling in the 70s and 60s. There wasn't Canada wrestling just didn't have funding.
yeah,
Uh, and of course, when I was growing up, he was the same complaint. Now that we progressed into the sport a little couple more years, where you are now, how is the funding? Do you still have to work? Do you still have to? You're not going to school now, obviously, but
yeah,
are you working as well part time? Just to
no, yeah, no. I'm just relying on my carding right now. So I mean, it's not that much money and stuff, but I'm lucky. You know what I mean? I get to chase my dream and live the dream. Like, hey, there's not that much money. I could try to make money afterwards, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I want to make more money with it, but
Yeah,
Canada, what I mean.
there's lots of time for that. Believe me. I mean, do what do what you need to do when you're young, and then when you get older, there's lots of time to get to
Yeah,
money. It's not all about chasing the carrot. Um, yeah, do what you got to do when you're young. I'm speaking from experience.
yeah.
So I got a couple more questions I want to hit you with. Going in preparing, I guess, for Paris now, is it going to be completely different approach, or have you changed? Have you started to think about changing your routine? Um, how's it look for you this next couple months in preparation for the summer games?
I'm just gonna be training really hard and try. Well, yeah, I think we're gonna go on a couple trips maybe, but I still have to game plan with my coach. We haven't have it come up with a game plan yet. Still
Hmm.
coming up with the trials and stuff. A lot of pressure, and I need to let my hand heal. So I'm
Hmm.
not kind of off the mats. But yeah, just working out right now, just like physical conditioning and stuff. But I still haven't game plan with my coach.
Hmm.
So you know, to be announced. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
But we don't know yet. I don't know yet. I wish I could tell you.
Yeah, we won't let any secrets out of the bag. We
Oh,
don't
there's
want.
no secrets. There's no secrets yet.
Okay. Um, Wrestling is often described as both an individual and a team sport. How do you balance the goals with the dynamics to be part of a team, like the Canadian team? Is it just that I don't know if people really understand, because they say, "Oh, you're on the wrestling team. You made it the wrestling team, the Canadian wrestling team."
Yeah.
We don't all compete and share in the room. You're actually, in Montreal, whereas Hannah's in Brock. It's not a team kind of atmosphere. It is when you get there, but describe that kind of experience when when as a national athlete, when you come together as a team. What is it? How does that work?
Well, I mean, a lot of the same athletes are making the same teams. So when you go to different trips, like Hannah, I think I was on the cadet world team with her like 10 years ago.
Okay.
So you kind of, you make friendships and relationships with some of these people, but it really is an individual sport, right? And you want what's best for Canada. And to do that, you need to have your own individual preparation. Um, but you know what? It is nice. Like, so for example, for my qualifying match, I heard so the girls were done competing. So I heard all the girls on our team, like, cheering and stuff. So it was super exciting. And I heard them and it was really encouraging. But yeah, it's individual. So because the problem is with Canada in Canada is that we go and compete against each other to make the team. You know what I mean? So you can't, like, some people are really buddy buddy, but then in a couple months you have to kill each other to try to make the team. So it's yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's tough. So any suggestions or any, I guess, advice for young athletes who aspire to compete at the Olympic Games like yourself?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's insane. It's funny because when I'm a little kid, I'm like looking at the people that made the Olympics, or because I don't just want to go to the Olympics, I want to bring home a medal and stuff. But just
Mhm.
looking at those athletes when I was a little kid, I was like, oh, I want to be like that, and crazy that I'm kind of in that position right now. But I think just find a good club, find a good coach, people that care about you, work hard. Um, yeah, and I think being on like having a constant search, or like having a desire to learn, and I think it's just lifelong learning, right? Like, never think that you know everything. Always be on the search for what's the right answer. Even there isn't always one right answer, but always be on the search and try to grow, and surround yourself with people that care about you and have the expertise to bring you to that level that you want to be at.
Mhm. Surrounding yourself with the people that care, some people that want to see you succeed is so important. That type of support. I think we talked about that earlier. You have family, you have coaches, can get you in the right places, can put you to the next level. Canada hasn't had an Olympic medal on the men's side for quite some time. I think since 2000, I believe,
Yeah,
maybe.
Gally. Yeah.
Galia, yeah. And even before that, I think it was the 84 Olympics. So if you were to achieve that status, that would be amazing. Pretty cool. We're all wishing you that, and you know what? I think it's, when you're training, you'll know that you're at that level too, right? Your mindset. I mean, it sounds like you're building on your mindset, you're building on your physicality, you're building on your training environment. Your coaches are helping you with it. You have everybody surrounding you that are putting you in the place. When you're in Paris, when you get there, um, or how are you going to prevent that whole Olympic experience from infiltrating the mind? You talked about a little bit about but before, saying, "Oh, I'm going to qualify for the Olympics," but now you've got the whole experience, the Olympic Games. There's going to, it's going to smack you in the face in the summer. How are you going to stop that fanfare, I guess, from affecting your wrestling?
I think I'm a pretty focused person, so I don't get distracted by too much. So I think I'll be okay. But I still want to soak it in a bit. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like, my goal is, to bring home a medal. So
Mhm.
uh, I think it's just in my personality to be able to kind of put those distractions out.
Mhm.
Like, my friends, like my friends party and stuff, and I never give in to any of that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty good at dealing with peer pressure and stuff. But
Mhm.
uh, yeah, the distraction, I think I'll be able to handle it, and I think it just from years and years of learning to deal with that sort of thing. I know there's nothing like the Olympics and stuff, but I've been to the Pan Am Games, Commonwealth Games, so I know they're not as big, but they're a taste of it, and
Mhm.
I think I'll be fine in dealing with that. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be pretty cool, I think, the Olympic experience, especially in Paris. Have you ever been to Paris before?
No, I haven't been to Paris. No, I haven't been to Paris. So yeah, it's
No,
it's gonna be pretty wild.
it's going to be pretty wild. So Hannah's already punched her ticket. Yourself, who else on the team has punched their ticket to Paris so far?
Anna Godinez, Justina D'Estasio, and then Amar Desi. So there's five of us, and then there's still one last shot. So there's another Olympic qualification event. So we have what is it? Four men competing, and 3 women. So hopefully we punch some more tickets and stuff. I think it's more fun with a bigger Canadian contingent. Yeah, a big team hopefully. So it's not over yet, and hopefully we'll have a lot of people joining us.
We've had, I think the last men's team, it was a great showing.
Yeah, last Olympics it was 2 people. So it was Amar Desi and Jordy Steen, one of my mates and stuff. But
Um, I've always, I asked, I had Chris Woodcroft on this podcast, and I asked him, why aren't we training with the U.S. guys? They're putting, medals on the podium more and more and more and more. He said definitely we need to do that. We need to get the guys down there. Is there? I know you said that you're kind of loyal to. Well, you are loyal to your club, Montreal Wrestling. Is there any point where you're going to head down to the States and maybe work out with some of the bodies down there?
Yeah, I spoke with my coach and we talked about it. So
yeah.
It was just kind of So I think we might go train. So
okay.
So we're gonna talk about it and regroup and game plan and try to give our best for Paris.
Nice. Right. So do you watch collegiate wrestling at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I follow it. And then even on our team, like on the national team, like Lachlan McNeil, I'm him. So he's an NCAA guy at UNC. So yeah, I follow it. Yeah. I've wrestled a few NCAA guys, but
yeah. What do you think the difference is between wrestling those NC2A guys and just a pure freestyle? Do you feel a difference between those guys at all?
Yeah, I think they're just like, but it's tough because there's so many different styles now. Like I think it's if you look at the NCAA guys, like they're a lot more diverse now in terms of styles, right? So you have like a guy like Yanni, and then you have another typical NCAA like grinds up the match, takes you to deep water. So I think there's a little bit of diversity now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. Yeah, not all of them have a great transition to freestyle.
No, they don't like. Well, it's hard to defend your back when you don't mind going to your back.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember my brother. So my brother went to Fresno State. He was a multiple national champion here in Canada, but he ended up going out to Fresno State. And when he made the transition back to try to make the national team, one of the things was, going to his back. He didn't mind it so much because he had trained doing that, all the escapes and whatnot. And he was wrestling around the time that Justin Abdu was wrestling. So
okay, yeah.
You would know that name from Simon Fraser, stuff like that. So that was years and years ago. So. I want to thank you, Alex, for coming on the show. It was kind of a last minute, hey, can you come on? I want to thank you for taking the time out of training. I know it can be, pesky for guys like me saying, hey, can you give me an hour of your time or 2 hours of your time? But I want to promote the sport. I want to promote you. You're doing good things in the sport. We want to wish you luck with an Olympic medal. It doesn't matter to me which one you get, but just as long as
it does.
Yeah, to you it does. But I want to see you perform and I want to see that amazing effort. And I'm sure it all happens in the room with Dad watching and in the stands. Let me ask you this: was Dad down at the qualifiers with you?
No, he was home. He was at home. Like they had U Sports, like the University National Championships.
Oh, okay.
I was with Dave Zilberman, like Victor's son. So Victor and my dad, they were coaching at the Concordia team in Guelph at U Sports. So they were busy, but I think they were following on their phones or whatever. So,
yeah. I think you're tell you the truth, the podcast on Instagram, and I had a live broadcast of your match, and I was watching.
Oh, really?
Somebody, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody was broadcasting and cheering, and of course it was all over when he was moving all over, and I'm trying to watch the damn thing, and then it cut out actually at the end. So, and of course it didn't show the score. I mean, the person was excited to have shown it, so somebody had put it on there. So I imagine your dad had seen it too, maybe.
Yeah.
But going back to your father, was he ever in your corner in the wrestling matches?
Yeah, mostly when I was younger.
Yeah.
He was always there. He was driving me to tournaments. Sometimes it'd be just me and him. Not really team, just me and him driving down to some tournaments. So yeah, he's definitely a huge part of my success. And in the high school I went because my father was a teacher there, so I went there because of him, and I got to wrestle there, and then they were super supportive. So Especially he was in my corner a lot until after high school, like pretty much every match until after high school.
How was that feeling of having your father? I know what it's like because I had my dad in my corner, but how was that feeling for you?
I don't know. It was weird. I think I liked having other people in my corner just because like it's hard to take. I don't know. My dad's also like a pretty nice guy, so he didn't give me that tough love that I would get from the other coaches. So
Hmm.
he'd say something's good, and I didn't necessarily always believe that it was good. I was harder on myself than my dad was on me.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was interesting though. Yeah, but
yeah, yeah. It's different having a father in your corner coaching you. Yeah, it's some people can like it, some people don't. Um, I've heard both sides. I know, like I said, I know your dad, so I can imagine he was a pleasure to be around.
yeah,
But sometimes people change in the corners. My dad would change sometimes in the corners, depending on what was happening.
yeah, they care. They're so emotionally invested, right? So it's hard to be objective.
Yeah, yeah. I remember, wrestling at the Commonwealth Championships, and my dad was in my corner, and yeah, I think if he was a little more of a jerk to me in the corner, I might have been fired up. But I can't change those things now. But
No, no, no.
yeah. So yeah, thank you for coming on the show,
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
and say hi to your dad for
Yeah, I
me.
will. I will.
Thank you for tuning into the Conceive, Believe, and Achieve podcast. I hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment in the section below. Your feedback fuels our journey to bring you more valuable content and stories from the realm of sports. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, believing in yourself, and achieving greatness. Thank you for listening.